What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Makina Gaming channel. As always, it's me, your host Makina, bringing you another gaming review. This time around, we'll be reviewing Pragmata, one of Capcom's latest projects released back in April. Now, I know I'm late to the party, but I'm a one-man army trying to get as much of this content out as I can, so cut me some slack. Anyway, I finally got my hands on it, and I gotta say, guys, this game felt like a blast from the past. It was straight to the point, good old-fashioned video game fun. The type of fun that sometimes feels lost in modern gaming with all the microtransactions and corporate greed you have nowadays. Starting off, we have Hugh Williams, the main protagonist of the game. His journey begins on a lunar research station known as the Cradle, shortly after he and his team were dispatched to investigate a loss of communication between the research station itself and Earth. As he and his team were investigating the strange signal failures, catastrophe struck and Hugh was immediately separated from his team. Sometime after, however, he was found by Diana, who becomes our main android companion for the rest of the game. Both suspect foul play at work and inevitably set out to stop EDIS, the artificial intelligence program that's gone rogue, and that's responsible for controlling all of the androids on the facility. With hopes of stopping the immediate threat, both set out to uncover the mysteries behind the Delphi Corporation, who manufactured the androids in the first place, and the mysterious Dr. Higgins, one of Delphi's leading researchers on lunafilament, which is a material found on the moon that can be used to replicate anything. What starts off as a simple premise quickly turns into a more layered narrative with some really cool plot twists along the way. The storytelling, although kind of cheesy at times, is a reminder of what happens when you combine simplicity with focus. Never did I feel like the story lacked direction in any way. The developers knew where they wanted to go with their story the whole time, which is really refreshing. Too many times I see developers muddying the waters by overcomplicating the stories that they set out to tell. Capcom's execution with the story was great, but what really carried the narrative forward was seeing the relationship between Hugh and Diana grow as you progress through the game. Diana's human-like curiosity and innocence meshed well with Hugh's paternal persona. Both characters showed vulnerability with one another, which to me made the relationship that much more believable. Even though Diana was an android by nature, the way she would ask Hugh questions about the world and what certain things meant really gave room for some interesting dialogue as Hugh did his best to explain different things to her. The one thing that I somewhat disliked about Hugh himself was that at times he would come across a little one-dimensional. Predictable even, which is why I made the comment earlier about the dialogue being cheesy at times. I wish there were just a little more layers to his character, I would have easily connected more with him if the writers gave him just a little more personality. He came across a little generic at times. Regardless, as I progressed through the story, I couldn't help but shift my focus to the overarching narrative. The game genuinely had me hooked and had a really cool concept. The more I played, the more I wanted to learn about the Cradle, the different androids, the Delphi Corporation, and more. I read every data entry, listened to all the dialogue, watched every cutscene, listened to every memory log. Again, the concept was just refreshing and felt new. I mean, hell, when's the last time you got to fight robots in space, am I right? The story, of course, was just part of what makes this game unique though. The best part to me is the gameplay. The gameplay in Pragmata is awesome. It felt super innovative to me and was really addicting. Every time you faced an android, you had to use a cool hacking mechanic that would expose the android's weak points, which then allowed you to cause more damage and destroy them. It worked like this. When hacking an enemy, a grid would appear on the upper right part of the screen. Your goal was to get the cursor from the starting point to the green square on the grid. As you pass your cursor through each square, you can make your hacking even more effective by passing the cursor through different nodes that you can equip to your loadout. Each node had its own function that affected gameplay in different ways. Some would allow you to hack multiple enemies at once, others allowed you to turn enemies against each other, which is really cool, and some disrupted enemy attacks altogether. The game did a great job of turning something that was already unique in and of itself and adding another layer of innovation to it. There were times when combat got pretty intense too, especially when facing enemies at close quarters. The added pressure of not messing up during the hack minigame really made things more challenging, and I loved it. The weapons in this game also all felt pretty awesome and had their own use depending on your playstyle. Each one felt unique to me and served a different purpose, but it was a combination of learning how to use all of them in sync that elevated the combat. Really, the combat gameplay was actually at its absolute peak when using your weapons and when using Diana's hacking ability in succession. The gunplay and Diana's hacking ability were both really well integrated here and played off of each other really well. Hacking would make weapons more effective, and by that same token, weapons made hacking more effective at times too. And it doesn't just stop there. The game also gave you the option to equip different mods to your loadout. Offensive mods, hacking mods, and defensive mods all affected your gameplay in different ways. I personally chose to focus more on offensive mods, but found that most, if not all of them, could have been useful in their own way. I also love that the game gives you plenty of opportunities to showcase your skills with plenty of enemies to fight. I never really got tired of facing these enemies because the gameplay was just that addicting to me, especially during the later parts of the game. Ultimately, I personally don't have anything bad to say about the gameplay. Maybe to some of you guys, when getting towards the end of the game, it might maybe start to feel a little bit more repetitive because again, enemy encounters become a little bit more frequent. But other than that, to me, the gameplay itself is perfect. One thing I do wish the game had more of though were boss fights. You get 5 major boss fights in the game, but it felt like there was room for more. My main issue with the bosses in this game was that they all felt pretty easy to beat, making some of the battles feel a little anticlimactic to me. Although the character models looked super cool, fighting them didn't feel as compelling as I would have liked. There was only one that took me 2 tries, which is kind of disappointing. A little bit of a difficulty spike for the boss battles, or maybe giving us multiple phases during boss fights, would have gone a long way. Instead, the boss fights to me felt more like scripted transitions, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. I mean, other games have done this in the past, but when your bosses are this easy to beat, it kind of makes it feel like any other enemy encounter. You know what I mean? I would have appreciated if they were just a little harder to beat, so that they could have really set themselves apart from the rest of the androids that you encountered throughout your playthrough. Still, at least they did give you some boss fights, and for that, I do applaud them. Now, in the world of Pragmata, almost everything you do feels rewarding. Exploration was really worthwhile, and by the time I finally completed my playthrough, I managed to 100% every map. There was a reasonable amount of things to discover, but the exploration never took precedence over the story. Maps were easy to understand for the most part, and a quick scan of your environment revealed different things you can get on the map. Taking the time to explore everything around you earned you plenty of in-game currency, which you could then turn around and use at the shelter, which is what your home base is called in this game. With enough upgrade materials, you could level up your weapons, enhance your suit, craft different hacking mods, and you can even increase your mod slots so you can have more mods equipped at once, amongst other things. You could also partake in some training simulations that reward you with even more upgrade materials and something else that the game calls cabin coins. This is what you'll need in order to unlock some new suits, some different data entries, for more info on what's going on, mods, and Redgate keys. Redgate keys gave you access to certain parts of the maps that were locked off. Once you entered one, you were forced to face different waves of enemies. The idea being that in these sections, the enemies presented more of a challenge to the player. They got progressively harder as you advance in the game, but I gotta say the rewards didn't feel any more unique to me. It was cool to go up against the enemies and all, but I wish they could have had their own set of unique rewards. If the idea was that these areas were supposed to be more challenging, then I believe the rewards should have been equally as exclusive. Rewarding players with new suit skins, different weapon attachments, or even more unique weapons could have made them feel a little bit more worthwhile. After completing these sections of the map, which again were supposed to be more challenging, I never got rewarded with anything that I couldn't already find during regular exploration. So that was pretty disappointing, but other than that, the game feels pretty rewarding overall. We're getting to the end of this thing now, so I'll mention a couple more things I want to highlight and then we'll get on with our verdict. I'll start with the soundtrack and the sound effects in this game. Capcom 100% delivered in this area with great in-game acoustics. Each weapon sounded distinct when being used. The sound effects of doors opening and closing in the game made them sound heavy and realistic. And even in the sections where you were outside the cradle and in space, your shots and voices sounded muffled, which showed great attention to detail. Everything sounded a little exaggerated, but in a good way, kind of like when playing a game at an arcade. And the music was pretty awesome too. I don't think there was anything memorable about the soundtrack per se, but the music matched what you were doing on screen really well. I couldn't help but get hyped when playing through enemy encounters and when doing different challenges. I also can't finish this review without mentioning the visuals. The graphics in this game were amazing. Everything looked really polished, and the attention to detail was evident. And there were genuine moments where I was completely immersed in the world. It felt like you were just alone in this world, having to fend for yourself. Earth felt distant, and at times, the game even felt eerie to me. The lighting was great, and I had no issues with any crashes or bugs or anything of the sort. All in all, they did an amazing job building this world. The level design was awesome. Maps were pretty easy to understand and to memorize, which went well with the overall pacing of the game. Even with the added exploration, you were still guided through a linear experience, which I appreciated. Sometimes you just want to pick up a video game that's fun and easy to get into, and I think that's the perfect way to describe this game. Which brings us to our final verdict. Now, if you couldn't already tell, I really enjoyed my time playing through Pragmata. I'm genuinely impressed with Capcom's efforts here. They delivered a great experience. The narrative, although simple at first, quickly unravels, but doesn't lose the plot. Even though the main protagonist comes across pretty one-dimensional at times, he also has moments where he's pretty relatable. But the real highlight is in how well Capcom portrayed his relationship with Diana. Their on-screen interactions and dialogue hit you right in the feels and makes both characters more memorable. The gameplay is extremely fun and innovative in my opinion. Rather than it being just a standard run and gun experience, there was genuine innovation. I think Capcom really took some risks here. The hacking minigame could have easily not meshed well with the gameplay. It could have instead felt out of place, but the way they integrated it into the game is nothing short of remarkable. The sound effects, the music, and the graphics were all on point. I would have liked for Hugh to have been a bit less predictable. The game could have also used more compelling boss battles, and there could have been better rewards with some of the more challenging areas of the game. It would have also been cool to see just a bit more customization in the game with your appearance. Some different suits or weapon attachments could have gone a long way in my opinion. It is worth noting that I only played through the game once, and when you play again through New Game Plus, you do get some more stuff by the end. All in all, it was still a solid experience. So for those reasons, Pragmata gets an 8 out of 10. It could have easily been a 9 out of 10 with some improvements on some of the things I mentioned earlier, but overall, this is still a great game. If you haven't already, go out and buy this game, guys. Support it and show it some love. Show these multi-million-dollar major corporations that single-player linear experiences are still something that the gaming community rallies behind and wants more of. There you have it, guys. Thank you so much for watching till the end of the review. I hope you guys enjoyed your time here on the Makina Gaming channel. Now I want to hear your thoughts. What did you guys think about Pragmata? Is this a game you already played or are thinking about getting? What did you guys think of the game overall? Leave your thoughts in the comment section below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and as always, be on the lookout for another video from your boy, Makina. Peace.